This is the P.R.E.P stream. About the people, the earth, the resources of our planet, the environment, and a bunch of R's that go along with it. Proactive. So let's create something better. Starting today. And be more. Hello everyone. It's Critical Redundancy back again. The one known as CR. As it says on the screen. So, yes. People, resources, environmentalism, and preparedness. So while I wait for some people to drop in here. And my camera on for this one. Oh yeah, alright. I wait for some people to roll in here because actually I rescheduled this a little sooner, but it's all good. It's all good. Gives me a chance to enjoy a drink here. Hopefully everyone's doing well. The people out there. You know, the people that transfer your mail to you, amongst other things. Let's see here. Let me just bring this up here. So we on the side, like usual. Alright. So, the people out there. So, a person that kind of drops off your package, a person like that, is someone that helps you every day, such as a caregiver. It could be even someone just that, you drop something, help you pick it up, for example. So that person that makes a little bit of small talk with you, it's kind of funny, laughing over something real quick, that kind of thing too. Yeah, that interaction with people. So it's always nice to have that kind of interaction with people. Or you can just feel like comfortable with people. And the potential resources to go along with it. And of course, how it interacts in the environment. Oops. Okay. Spelling was not always my forte, but anyways, get the point. Oh, and how it all relates into preparedness. Yeah, right there. So let me just put this back here. Now, resources out there. So, people, resources. There's so much out there. Sometimes you just gotta skim off the surface, so to speak, and see something hidden underneath a little thin layer of dirt, for example. It's a metaphor. I mean, sometimes I just see certain little things in the corner of my eye, right? Because you never actually know what you can find out there until you go take a look and actually see it. You're like, did I just see that? Is that? Yeah. Because the resources sometimes, you don't always have to go to it, it just comes to use, so to speak. Or it's along your journey. And a lot of the times I'm just like, I'm just like, oh, Look at that. It's about something like a couple of feet, couple of 5 or 10 feet away. Like, is that? So, you never know. And sometimes when you're driving too. Just like me, my buddy. You know that? Why? And I'm like, ooh, you noticed the tape on the road. I'm like, ooh. I think he used it quite well, actually. So hopefully everyone's doing well, like I said. Hi, Vanessa Kitty. How are you? Nice to see you. So yeah, I always want, ever since someone told me that, wow, that experience happened, I went, maybe I should keep my eyes peeled more often. It's like I said, you never know. I'm like, sometimes some items can be very, very useful, even more useful than you think. I mean, I'm doing so. I just roll this in here. Let me just roll that in there. Yeah. And you saw that too. You enjoyed that? And you got that glove. Resources again. I actually have it. I must put it back. Yeah. Shit, I thought I had the gloves up here. No, I put them off to the side, didn't I? No, there's actually another glove that I actually had to kind of fix too. Yeah, that glove one. So you can see that right there. That's not too bad. It actually kind of, this is a little bit more simplistic right there. See that spot right there. So a little bit more simplistic compared to some of the mending that I did in that video. And then the live stream that I did upon this, and how this all makes sense, kind of relates into the resources. Using them for a lot of, not only for a lot of things, but to stretch an individual resource a lot more. Using that resource a little bit as best you can, getting not only more time in using it, but something that I lost my train of thought right there. Anyways, I think you know what I mean. Yeah? Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Goodness, I did. Pop that on the screen there. Run the pair of those. Oh yeah. Maybe. Okay, that's cool. Very nice. Now these goals that I was showing, which wasn't put them sorry, but those were just spares. So I was just using the resource a little bit better. So I have some other ones that are meant for more than for doing stuff with. So these ones I showed in that video, I could actually still use them. Okay. Because I actually tried them out with just randomly doing something. I'm like, oh, I gotta do. I'm like, well, I guess they'll work for now. It'll help. Let me see here. So I think it's pretty easier if I actually just show it. I will be showing stuff here. This is why I have the camera in this video. So I'm gonna start off with water. I actually do have water here. That's actually water. Actually, I'll have a sip. So water. Yes, water. Just like the blue that's on my icon right there. That kind of water. Anyways, it's important. Because you can't get coffee too much without water. Or those teas, if you enjoy those. So yes, water. And those water containers. This is just one I would carry with me, for example. Obviously, at a residence, it'd be a little bit different, obviously bigger. Yeah. Probably in a closet, in a room, for example. So just put this back here. It actually kind of reminds me of our water thing I was doing earlier. I was just kind of cycling some water. It's actually just waiting for it. Hopefully, actually, I'll probably do it, finish it off after the stream. I used to actually have water in here. I don't even know if I can bring this into frame, but it's not done yet. So water will be in there pretty soon, probably after the stream's done. So yes, water is important. Like I said, you don't get coffee with much coffee without water. Or those teas. You enjoy those, so I do make sure I try to have some water standby just in case. Might be a little bit more time. And I'll just cycle it in every so often and check it and rotate it. Now, I've been working on this rotation schedule for it, and I think for me here, I'm going towards a fall, spring. Yeah, a fall, spring kind of schedule for it. So basically before winter or summer starts. Something I've been working on. Among some other things. Water's heavy to store. Actually, I had to find a spot to put it above the ground, so it wasn't just sitting on the ground. So I did actually have some of that water that I had in that. Cheers, everyone. Like I said, hopefully all you people out there are doing well. And like I said about resources, more resources, right? So more resources than are used to. Part of doing this stuff. So, here's what you think is in there. Yeah, that's it. I'm pretty sure you're guessing it right. Right above that, it's like, is that it? What I think it is, CR? Yes. Yes, it is. Showing videos on this already, so go pop over there. Maybe you want to crack one of those pens in there for me. Just a little bit low over there. That'd be nice. Just kidding. Anyway, let's just put that away. This will be ready for later too. So this is why I've been thinking of going towards the water as a spring thing for me more. Fall, spring. So yeah, that water that I was cycling out, I did make some coffee with it. It's nice. Nice. So, let me show here. Another resource right here, which I'm actually going to try to actually use too. Strangely enough. Oh, and it has CR in it, right? Cardboard. Cardboard's a useful thing. Can can be reused a few times depending on the application and such. Although it does wear down just like anything. So the resources can wear down. I mean, cardboard, paper. Obviously, some things a little bit less. Such as this glass container right here. Trade-offs of the resource. So cardboard box versus glass box versus plastic box versus a wooden box. Trade-offs. Let's put one little bit of my happy faces up there. Oh yeah, and about the environmentalism, yeah, this be used for something, at least one more time. Can I use the resource a little bit better? Because technically, I can actually still write on this too, if I really wanted to. If you could actually guess what this was actually from, I think you would have a keen sense to smelling it out. Put this back in the frame here. So, it's like pull a few things out here just to kind of say a few things as well. Just what I'm saying. Now, I guess it's about time. Yeah, it's kind of random plastic bag here. I'm not a big fan of using these so much. They have their purposes. Reasons. It's just a gallon size that I have. I just put it in a bag. Well, slide it into a bag, backup container, or something like that, and it could be useful. Something to add in there. Hi. How are you doing? Are you doing well, dog? So yeah. So what I actually do is buy like mostly a bulk supply and then put them into a bag. I don't use these that much, but they like I said, they have their place. Sometimes I rather have something a little bit more rigid as a container. Okay. Let me just push my tab here. So yes. Let me just grab something out here. So another thing is important enough, especially in adverse conditions. Is core body temperature. I guess I'm gonna include it here. So something here that I have here. That's just a pair of gloves I have in there. Just sealed. This is something I have during the winter time. I can add that in there. Just in case I'm having my air gloves are wet or such and such. It's one of the ones I have. So water. A little bit of a barrier, some shelter around with. Make myself a little bit more comfortable. And stuff like that. Of course, you know. Let's see here. To a certain degree. Let's see. I'll just, I guess I could show it. One random can of food. As you can see, I actually have a D on it. Yeah, I'm gonna loosen her year, almost a year with this. Of course, food's important to a certain degree. Honestly, as a priority, a little bit less compared to other things. However, it will be needed in time, especially if you're more trying and pushing hard too. You probably don't get tired, which means you gotta refuel up so you can keep going. So it's important. Yeah, I think saying that you're starving after only 24 hours, I don't know. I mean, I get hungry, but I also realize that I'm like, it's only been, I don't know, 16 hours or whatever. I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. Pull something out of here. Not exactly but it's similar to what you think it is. So something like this, some kind of things to, those A, B, C, D airway breathing. That's what I think I'm trying to say. Just some stuff I have in there. I just have it in a baggie for this right now. It's not ideal for me. I think I'm gonna try to change the container out on that one. All right. Hydrate up. Wet my whistle, so to speak. All right, so I I'm quiet listener. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. Just back in here real quicker. I'll just put that in there to sharpen it up. I mean, yes, permanent marker. I gotta actually put this back. Alright. So yes, like I said, water, some shelter does help, and of course food. I mean, I'm just showing an example or two. What about resources? You know, herb resources, like something like that. And kind of putting them to better use. So these will be going towards a better use. And kind of delay something like this, the container in this case, a little bit more. Get a little bit more out of this. So I think something like this, I mean, like, I just sprinkle this out, by the way. Just sprinkle it out. You do the drop back, the dig and draw, cover, compost, and so forth and so forth. See, I think I actually would compost more, like, in a pile if I actually had more to work with. I just don't think I have enough, and a way to keep it going during the winter. I think summertime would be fine for me, but if I'm doing something in the winter, I think I need a much bigger supply. So, yes. So I do appreciate everyone dropping by on this P.R.E.P stream for me. And kind of relate this all together to a certain degree. So yes, like I said, the coffee. I've been actually using this for a little bit. So coffee maker I actually did have, but didn't actually come with one. So having one of these was actually quite nice, and I actually went towards this. I mean, if you have something like a press or something like that, I guess that's pretty cool too. I think I got one lying around. Maybe I should start bringing it back out, start using it again. I don't know. It's just I do like press, but I'm like always trying to clean it out. This actually seems easier for me to clean out. So I think this is why I use this one. I'm reusing it. It was always meant for coffee anyway, so. And reuse that coffee after, by the way. Yes. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I did just put some fresh in here. Just mix it around. Once it's ready, once it's a little bit more outside, I can just put it out there and we'll just kind of spread it out in the environment. In this case, it's a natural source of some amendments and kind of spread it out a little. And I know where it pretty much came from, so should be good on that. Yes, I know. I gotta clean that out. Amongst my resources. Speak of resources, I think there's one resource, and I do mention it on these streams all the time now because it's a pretty useful material or resource. Now, depending how you say it, and I'm actually going to say it both ways, so for my international audience. So, aluminum or aluminium. It's a very useful resource. You're probably like, oh, CR, what do you mean? What do you mean? In a vehicle or something? And no, more than just a vehicle. That resource right there gives us a lot of things when it's joined or combined with some other things. So, just a few examples of what aluminum can actually do for us. For example, power that you're probably using. One form or another probably has aluminum tied in there. I mean, high transmission lines are actually use aluminum because it's lighter and relatively can its conductivity is pretty high. Let's see. What was I say? Sorry, I got sidetracked on the side chat. I'm just reading what was there. Let's see. Jeez, it's derailed myself. Oh yeah, so the aluminum. So you think about it, those modular things then for long-term storage. Let's say with oxygen absorber and all that stuff. You know, that shiny stuff. And you actually kind of see it with packaging too, because it's usually in a form like. I just happen to have something like this without showing off too much here. Something like a Tetra Pak. See, this too technically, because you actually, when you see the inside, it's usually shiny. It's a composite type of material, usually with cardboard, plastic, and aluminum. So, yeah, stuff like that. So you might, you know, that what's it called? That's stock or something like that. You might pre-purchase to like those mylar bags that you might be using for long-term storage. For example, yes, those are two things right there. So like, I mean, let's see. Oh yeah, I almost forgot because I saw it the other day too. There was you can get that kind of can water in a can. I'm pretty all right. I'm pretty sure that's part of it too. So yeah, without that running around, it'd be totally different up there. That's for sure. Hi, FSP. What's up, Guardian? How are you doing? I see. I see. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Oh, by the way, I can send you guys a link if you want to join me. By the way, I will be on for, well, I guess we'll see how long. A little slower of a start, but it's all good because actually I had to reschedule the stream to start earlier anyways. So, and try to squeeze in some time, like I said. So, let's see here. Okay. So hopefully you guys are all doing well, like I said. I know people have actually been telling me, it's like, CR, yeah, you know, they're so excited. It's like, I got this deal at this one place for like some food, CR. You know, I just, well, whatever it was. I mean, I think it was on spaghetti. Was it on spaghetti or something along the lines of that? I think it was like a pretty decent unit price for what they paid for. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Nice to see that it's still kind of happening. You know, where there is something of a deal out there still. Rare, very rare. You know, one thing that I've been kind of looking forward to. Let's see. Well, there's not much left. Let me just show you guys here. Because you can actually see the seasoning in this. I don't have much of the sunflowers left. You know, in that video that I showed, me actually kind of going through the process of putting in some brine and all this stuff. Let's just say that didn't last as long as I thought it would have. like literally, I have this many sunflower seeds left. So I made this season, and then trying to actually add some more in. I think it's actually I enjoyed having them actually. It's nice, nice little snack. You know, food for thought. And for those times that I'm craving a little bit of food or want a snack because someone's talking about food or something like that, which seems to happen to me often. Just the way I let's just put this back. I just have it in a jar right here. So oh okay. Hey, Preparedness. Okay. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. I see you guys all on the side, by the way. Yeah, right. Farmer's on it. Going in here. Yeah, it's nice to see you all. Alright. Okay. Anyways, coming back to what I was saying here about the sunflowers. Yeah, I want to actually grow some more. I'm actually in the process of actually figuring out the plan. Well, I won't show the sheet that I have working on it, but I'll show it indirectly right here. Since I mentioned I'll reuse this actually, so a couple spots that I have and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of putting it on the south-facing side a lot more. Because I've actually tried this and it's like, well, okay, well, it seems to be working. And I went for that whole cycle of it now. So hopefully that resource will help me here. But only time will tell. I just seem to have so many spring things on my mind. I'm just thinking about that. I know, so I have to wait. But in the meantime, I can set up resources beforehand. And a little bit of planning too. In terms of preparedness, a little bit of planning can do wonders, right? Especially, if you get some more lead time on the situation. So you can get a little bit more, be like, oh, I can get an extra 15 minutes in there. Oh, and yes, it's just a pencil. I think I actually found this pencil a while ago. So one of those are resources. So extend my resources a little bit more. Oh, okay. Let me just scroll down to the bottom here and just kind of just add that in there randomly. Randomly adding the CR things in there. Not always correct though. Sometimes you gotta learn to know when you're wrong or don't quite know enough yet. I'm always willing to learn more. Because where there's a can, there's a way. And yes, I just used that. Right there. And yes, I was actually watching the stream. Actually, once at the previous day. Well, it was earlier in the week. They were talking about cans, and I was just kind of reorganizing some can stuff that I have. So something similar to that. A little bit better. I'm just trying to, not just like by item, but also by date and all this other stuff. I'm just like, okay. I think I can figure out a system. In terms of prayers, a system that works for you, where you can have a little bit of a buffer zone, but it's kind of, it works with your workflow, works with your environment as well. So it's kind of easy. So it's just like, oh, over, and yeah, and kind of hopefully, you know, use things a little bit better, not only the time, but the space, you know. So something like space, I'm actually reducing the space, how much that takes up so much room. And as a resource, it can be a resource, and it can help the environment too. So I think, and maybe in terms of preparedness, if I put something in the ground, and hopefully some time later it'll help. Oh yeah, okay. I see you. I see you. Oh, like I said, knowing that when you're incorrect, or it's like, where, you have to retract what you say. Like, I was mistaken, for example. Because sometimes you gotta warn it, right? Sometimes you just have to warn it, and until you do, you're like, oh, I was kind of mistaken on that. Should do more research, try to understand it a little bit more, and hopefully, that knowledge skill went in there too, and you learn, oh, here's some valuable experience right here, hands first hand, or hands-on approach, so to speak. Uh, so, in terms of preparedness, like, you know, you got that water, food, some shelter against the elements is always nice and simple. Of course, when you put on your feet, if it's colder out, I tend to need someone to wear on my feet if you get cold, you know, and adjust to your requirements, your needs. I mean, because I've been thinking, I'm like looking at some of those, per se, how to or preparedness videos. Sometimes I'm like, I gotta adjust what I see to what I have here. And use what I hear or see as a template and apply it to my own current situation. current, yes, current, yes, current situation. Because I'm like looking at, I'm like, don't they live in the desert? Oh, it's like, oh yeah, so that's why they have more water, and right? Because here in Canada, obviously, I think it's well known that there's quite a bit of water here in Canada. You're never overly far, and there's always streams more or less around. Uh, Let me just put that up on the screen here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, come on, work with me here. There we go. I'm trying to put that on. I really was trying to put this up on the screen. So, oh yeah, and some hand tools and stuff like that. Right. I mean, there's pros and cons. I think because yes, hand tools per se don't require energy or electricity to run, but they are gonna be slower. You don't have to put some effort into it, and sometimes and stuff like that. Now, on the other side, power tools, yes, I have a few laying around along the lines of that. It's gonna be faster, but you're gonna need power for in a way to probably charge it, acquire that energy and stuff, whatever it is. So, it's that trade-off right there. I mean, it's nice to know that you have maybe a saw with one electric saw or a gas powered one, for example. Because then, let's just say you have more than one, then you can actually kind of be like, hey, you can start over here and kind of work together, right? Because that way you actually have options. So if you're trying to use a little bit less fuel and time wasn't so sensitive, you can just do it by hand, for example, enjoy the process. If you didn't need that time back, or you're doing a lot of it, you might actually have to want to use a power tool. So, I mean, it's just like sewing for me. Just like yes, sewing. Yes, just, yeah. Because I do actually have random sewing needles nearby, by the way, yes. Sewing. Sometimes I actually want to use some of that stuff, so I want it nearby. Anyways, let's see where I'm going here. So I can always hand sew. I think I'm getting a little rusty. I'm trying to remember how to refred the sewing machine. I'm getting a little rusty at doing it because I've been actually like hand sewing a lot more, and also like, hand sewing in terms of with threading needles also gonna be slower than a sewing machine or something along the lines of that automates the process a lot more. Because let's just say if you have a saw and if it's really long, well, you're probably gonna have quite a bit of advantage, even though if you're doing it by hand because it's so long. So, you know, those hand tools, I'm always thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I could use a saw like this, but it'd be nice to have a nice longer saw so I can actually get a little bit more contact time, for example. So, yes, let me see my side chat here. Yeah, exactly. Learn from their own style and experience and kind of experience it for themselves. It's just like tolerances to like heat and cold. And actually, I don't put this randomly on. Uh, like I said, to heat and cold. I actually don't bring this up on the screen because it doesn't get talked about much. So yes, heat and cold. So because we all have our tolerances to it, right? And some people might actually have less tolerance or more tolerance. I mean, you ask anyone, do you prefer hot or cold more? And people sometimes say it's like, I don't mind cold. I don't mind cold. I can have a campfire, for example, or I can wear more clothing, for example. And someone maybe that lives in an environment that's hotter, maybe has a rainy season and a dry season. That's about it, or the monsoon season and dry season, right? It's like, yeah, it's water, and it's for example, or the heat, I should say, because it's so dry. So for me here, I actually, I've shown the snow, well, snow, the springtime, the summer, and the fall, different videos. So to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna see probably both and expect both to happen because it's more likely for them to happen in a given year. Because I'm gonna see really low temperatures, but I'm also gonna see really high temperatures too, probably, just because the area I am in. I'm gonna see something warm and I'm gonna see some cold. So I've been kind of going towards this like equinox kind of thing. Almost like I said earlier about the water, I was just like doing it in the spring and fall now during the equinox time. Kind of like 12 hours a day, like 12 hours a night, and whatever, right? Depending on your latitude and stuff like that. So let me see here. What are you guys saying here? Oh, okay, CB. Oh, okay, I see. I mean, I know I've shown it before. Well, I would have to bring it up, but I have this hand drill. I've tried it out. I mean, like I said, it depends what you're doing. And having like some sort of mechanical advantage, levers, gears, pulleys, whatever, right, could actually substantially help you in this situation. But you would have to set it up. Because I want one of those auger type ones. I just have a beater or an A beater type style one. So, because I'm pretty sure those ones that are on auger have a lot more power behind them, or you can get a little bit more purchase. Yeah. Well, I have kind of my friend. I talked to a friend about this too, about an electric lawnmower. Now, with everything, just thinking about it, it's just like it's not as powerful for what it is, and also it does cost me. But oops, to me, it's just like I'm trying to like go towards less of that, or even the requirement of it at all. And of course, using what you do have still. No sense in buying something new when you still have something that kind of works. At least, and relatively speaking, it's in fair shape or good or fair shape still. Not mint or excellent, but it's still usable. So I'm just gonna think about that too, because in terms of preparedness, you're trying to overlap a lot of circles together, but you don't want something over here getting so big and you're like, I have all this water, but I have a little bit of food, or something vice versa. I have all this supply of food, but a little bit of water. So I'm trying to personally too is balance that back out and have the overlap. Those circles have more of an overlap because they're actually physically getting bigger, and not just here, but up here in hand, the knowledge, book smarts, that skill and practicing it, whatever it is, right? And actually going through the process of it, let's say rotating water and actually going through that process of doing it. Yes, I actually in the process of actually doing that right now. Yeah, see, you can hear that container right there. I just have it off to the side. It's just sitting just in a darker spot that I have, so I'll refill that up right after the stream, probably. Okay. Uh, yeah. Well, it's just, you know, you're gonna put the energy into it too. So, I mean, like I said, trying to kind of works more effectively. I think, there's a time and place for power tools, right? Because you don't get the efficiency, but you do need a way to charge it up or maintain it, or well, just generally have a current. See our word go through it, right? And then get some power out of that. And you get some usable work done, whatever it is, a drill or whatever, right? I mean, let me see here. Where that? I don't want the arms on this one, but I guess yeah. You know what? I guess I'll show this. Test technically brings a lot of things together. So people are familiar with kind of ratchets, uh, screwdrivers, and stuff like that. They only spin one way, stuff like that, for stuff like that. And let's you put the things in the back and stuff like that. Well, I've used these before. Sometimes it is useful, depending on what I'm doing. Like, let's just say, you're helping someone, for example. I know some of the scrappers out there, I know not all of them, but I know some of them work in a team effort kind of deal, so they're removing components, and I guess power tools do make that faster. And sometimes, it's nice to know that you have a hand tool that kind of can almost do as fast depending what it is, what's being done, right? And where it's easier just to kind of do it, or you don't have to change bits, for example, right? Oh, okay. Okay, I get you. Well, it's just what it is, right? I mean, this actually used to have handles. And actually, the funny thing is, in terms of environmentalism, actually, this was found. This is why it's missing it in the first place. But this is something I can just add in there. And hopefully, maybe you have more quality ones too. Now you have a spare to work with. Just trying to get this back in. Well, trying to get this back in. I don't use this much, but sometimes I will. Just do it real fast, right? So, let's see here. Yeah. All right. So everyone's familiar with something like this. This is one that I have laying around. I've used it every so often. Just say, just to tighten up something, for example. Let's see. I guess I can actually go get this example here. Why not? So yes, I had to go get this example because I think it'll kind of re-elaborate what I mean here. This is something I actually have right here. And again, about the resources. So this ran away. Oh, let's see here. No, actually, I didn't put one in here. Well, anyways, I don't have that Robinson screwdriver, but yes, I could actually probably undo this. And I think when I was actually originally making this is just a very minor steps tool. Just something so, it might just need that extra foot or whatever. I'm pretty sure I actually use this to tighten these up a bit. So, let me just put this down here. Yeah. Oops. Oh, I kind of inched over a little there. I just kind of inched over there a little here. You can see. Yeah, okay. And yeah, this is the one that I found. Oh, let me put this back in. I have other ones I can dip into if I need to, but this is something I can kind of use, and I don't feel so bad if I break it, so to speak, because I actually found it. So, and the way that I found it, I'm almost thinking if I actually didn't find it, I think it would have been tossed. It would have been like, all right, that resource would have just been like lost to time, as they say. It'll get. I've actually used it here. I've actually used it here for a few little things where I'm just like doing it real fast. So it kind of helps to have, in small spaces for a ratchet. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can spin it up. Okay, what's up? Yeah, it's all good. It's all good, man. I see you all. By the way, hope you're doing well, Mr. Singing guy. speak of speak of slinger, it always reminds me. Like I said, I don't mind the hand sewing, and I mean the sewing needle I have right here, but sometimes it is certain little things would take a long time to do by hand. Not saying it's impossible, but if you're doing a whole quilt or something along the lines of that, that would probably take quite a bit of time to hand. So, I mean, I've tried out some bigger projects hand-sewing. I'm like, how long that takes. So it'd be obviously faster with. I want to get. Oh, I think one of my buddies has one of those ones that you would have to roll. What is what's that called? There's a name for it. Anyways, that spins and for as a sewing machine. I would actually kind of like something like that. That'd be nice. So it would be actually faster than hand sewing, but also not as fast as an electric, but faster than hand sewing. Excuse me. So hopefully it would help. Yeah, I'll just randomly put randomly just put this right here. Let me just check on something right here. Okay. I can turn on my brightness here. Just had to see where my battery's at here. My volume should be, yeah, it's good. So yeah, some other things I start to notice is just like, how do I say this? This kind of, see, I don't want to, I don't want to some of those purists out there, but sometimes these kind of things that I see, see, I'm trying to do this without saying names or something specific, but that these overly zealous ways of attracting attention to the environment. Yes, I think I'll say it like that. I've seen these, by the way, right? I've seen these, right? And I'm not see, I'm not saying I'm against it or for it, but what I would say is, you know, always lead by example, right? But sometimes you can do things without being per se on the front line, like, and actually doing things and starting things into like a community and stuff, like those resources, whatever it is. And kind of, I mean, it could be, yes, if you're in the countryside, you're kind of bartering with some neighbors to a certain degree, or quote unquote trading, something like that, and kind of starting something like that. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Well, one of the things I've heard about is, they use compressed air still, the Amish, right? As far as I think I watched a video on that. My information on that is not as high as some other things that I know about, but I think that's one thing I heard about the Amish, that they will use compressed air for tools, for example. So, I mean, so they're not quote unquote using electricity; they're just using another form of energy that's not electric. So, like compressed air, for example. I mean, some do. Okay. Well, I imagine some would. I mean, to a certain degree, I mean, lines of communication stuff like that. I mean, yeah. I mean, I try, I try to nod, but then I'm like, well, I do need to get a hold of someone because I care about the person to a certain degree. Yeah. 'Cause I kind of notice as time's gone on, being on YouTube, I'm like thinking about like people that I remember in the past, right? And hopefully some of them are still kicking around, right? And some of them I have seen come back, so which is always it's always nice to see them, right? So, some of those people that known you longer, I mean, some of you I haven't known that long, but I feel like I'm trying to get to know you a little bit better, as people. Because it's the reason why I do it is because it's actually more memorable if I actually remember the people and I can kind of make conversation in the side chat like to people and kind of sticks around a little bit more memorable, right? Gonna remember, yes, this is a P.R.E.P type of stream per se, but still enjoy life, enjoy things too, enjoy those walks and stuff like that. Or for me, it's just like going for a walk. It's like, oh, what can I find here? Sometimes it's like I said, enjoy the life too, right? But always have situational awareness because you never know what you can find. You might actually find something like this randomly, which I actually did, by the way. So if you see that again, remember to add a CR in there. You know, you might see that again, by the way. It's one of those things. Sometimes I'm like, oh, look at this. This is could be used for preparedness purposes. Also, I'm using this as an example, but hey, this works with something I have already, right? I could maybe actually bring it out right now. Yes. Now, light source right here. I've actually shown this, by the way. I don't know if I can actually, because I think I've worn down the edging on it. No, I don't think I can read it anymore. Well, in one of the last videos, I've actually showed this. It actually is a stream light. I didn't actually notice until I took a look. It's fading now, but in that video, I kind of showed it a little bit closer. Anyways, the point is, something found. Let me just slip out the battery here. It can be useful for something else I have. What's going on? Hopefully everyone can see the light on this situation. But yeah. That's battery right there. That isn't in the environment yet, because it's still in a useful state. And hopefully kind of delay that a little bit more. Oh, and by the way, yes, it's rechargeable. So think about that. Think about that, right? Think about that. So, and the thing is, that's just something I just saw off to the side, like disregarded it, and I'm just like, wait a second, this still works, and it's actually a useful item in this case, right? Because it's not helping power this stream light, for example. So yeah, I take a look because sometimes I'm just like, how'd this get here? So, something that you might find in the environment, and it might be actually more useful than you think. Let me see what you guys saying inside here. Alright, okay. Yeah, see, that's another thing, right? I can charge this up. I can charge this up. I can use, wow, some solar here. There's other things and stuff with it. So that's basically this example, but yeah. So, because if I think about this battery has potential, not just because it has power in it, but there's potential in it because now it gives me that extra little bit more to work with, that extra buffer zone of power in this case, light, the sea, for example. Because obviously it still gets dark. Some places a little bit sooner, some a little bit later, some and stuff like that, depending how far you are from the winter and summer solstice, right? The shortest and longest day of the year, night. So yeah, I just found when I saw this, I'm just like, oh, it looks like I don't know. So yes, all right. So let me see here. Well, you guys are having fun in the side chat. You are definitely having fun in the side chat. Cool, cool. I gotta remember what the time is. All right, okay. I've been about an hour and 10. All right, so let me keep going here. For example, I kind of explain little things along the way. So that battery right there. It was just one of those things I was just like, oh, this actually can be useful, and I can use it too. So it's not gonna be kind of, how do I say, quote unquote, forgotten about. It's not serve a better purpose. I think, yeah, I'll just say it like that. I'll just say it like that. And that's just one of these things that I see. Because I know I haven't done a resource haul in a while or a scavenger tip haul for a while, but yes, there is things I see along the way. And sometimes I either don't have my camera with me or whatever, or I can't be bothered to record it, or it's like on the side of the road. And just like, yeah, I don't feel like doing it, or whatever, so I won't record it. But I do randomly find these things. And I don't know, sometimes it's just like, how did this get here? I just randomly walking by, right? Because like I said, you never know what you can find out there until you go take a look. Those resources are out there. I mean, like, if you think about how we even discovered anything in the first place, right? How did we know that this kind of thing that looks like rock would be copper? And oh, how would we know if we took this copper and we put in some our metals into it and it got better, bronzy, or right? How would we know? Well, sometimes people had to learn about it. People had to try it out in the first place and understand it. It's like, oh, yeah, actually do have. Sometimes it doesn't just come naturally, or an epiphany, or it's an easy invention. Sometimes you just gotta work at it, right? And combine some our knowledge from some other people and kind of put it together, and then it's perfected, and it helps people, right? Helps people. So something to think about right there. Yeah, you think you would need that, CB? Yeah. Mostly depending what's going on, right? Adjust to the situation as much as possible. I mean, I've shown this before. Yeah, I mean, I've shown this before. Right? Yeah. Somehow, every time I show this on these live streams, it's like always down half. But seriously, I do charge these, though. Let me just put that right there. So these are kind of nice. A battery bank, not absolutely required. Right? There's probably some other thing. And like I've said before, I've actually used to have a battery bank long time ago, over 10 plus years ago. So I remember how useful that was. So that's why I kind of still have some laying around. So I try to use power wisely, but I also realize I'm doing something specifically, whatever it is, as a content creator, for example, or something like this. Because sometimes, well, yeah, right. It's there for that reason. Let's see what you guys are all saying here. Yeah, exactly, CB. Yeah, you don't know until you actually get there. Okay, noted, Guardian. So now I think I'm trying to, how do I say, versify my kind of preparedness. So like I know some, because I've seen some videos on these battery banks, and they are useful. I mean, lots of people use them now. I mean, like, not just people that blog or do stuff like that, but because, whenever, right? Late or whatever. Although the majority of the time it is for a phone. But I've been thinking, I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I do have actual batteries, but sometimes certain little things, right? Certain little things. So one of the things I make sure I have is backup. Yes, backup. Backup resource. Okay. And I just cycle between two. So this one's full, this one's not. This one I'm using first, and then I just keep that rotation, just like the food and the water. Like I said earlier in the stream, I was watching this stream cans and on preparedness side of things, and I just kind of taking a look at what I have and just kind of reorganizing it a little bit more and just kind of, oh, maybe if I actually do this or not, maybe it actually would stack up better and stuff like that. I'm trying to use that space better. So sometimes I'm actually watching certain little things and actually following along or kind of doing what I'm doing here. So right now, I'm just like, oh, everyone's talking about gardening right now already. I'm just like, oh, I need to see what I can do. Did I just hear something? That's locked into something. I thought I heard something. Ah, yes. Huh. Huh. Headlamp. Hmm. Wait, maybe I should. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go. So you can actually see. Yeah, something like a headlamp, hands-free device. I got one on the side. But I'm also looking towards other things too and diversifying it a little bit here. Things that can work together. Oh, I imagine so. I imagine so. Let's see, I would imagine so. Especially if there's no moonlight. I mean, I've walked down to places where it's just like, yeah, without moonlight you can't see. And maybe having a little bit of light or candling, which I'm not the only to candle, but because it's daytime, but that could be useful. Right? Could be useful. Oh, yeah, could be useful. Let me just swing this into view here. All right, candling. I'm actually surprised I'm still been using this one for the. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And sometimes, yeah, you do need to see, especially when it's after dark and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow. Oh. Okay. 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 Cool. Cool. That sounds really cool. Wow. Have fun doing that. I know. You know. And also, be prepared. But I think that goes without saying. I guess it goes without saying in this stream slash replay. And I do appreciate everyone dropping by for me here. And just randomly. Yeah, one of these. Yeah. Yeah, see, for me, in a bag, for example, see, I can't bring it up. But I make sure I actually have some gloves, gloves in there. I'm actually working on updating the gloves that I have in the bag for. There's an actual dedicated set, like dedicated set, where I don't actually have to pull from somewhere else. Because I realize about preparedness is just like there's ways to kind of cut costs, right? You know, if maybe you're per se growing it or something like that. But then there's other things very hard to reproduce. Like I'm not saying everything's needed, or even a want, but some things are pretty important and they're kind of hard to recreate. So, and without going into specifics, but right. Or you would need a lot of skill to recreate it. So, we can actually go get going here real quick here. I mean, I guess this would be hard to recreate. I guess in time I probably could do it, but yeah. And yes, I am gonna clean it up after the stream, after my coffee. I kind of forgot about it earlier. I was coming onto the stream and I just realized that I actually pulled an error, so I had to correct that. So it delayed me a little bit here. Let's see what you say. There's food about being far enough out there that yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to resort to what you have as resources, and not just physical resources, but what you know, skill level, and experience. Because depending on the situation, you're probably gonna need all you can get, all the help you can get. So gear is useful. Having actual water is useful. Having here's this food ration or something like that. Yeah, it is useful. But always remember you gotta apply it. And gear tends to work better with skills and knowledge and experience backing it up to a certain degree. Because it's like everyone always uses that kind of the fire starter kind of metaphor or example. But I'm trying to think of it as like water, right? If you know where the water is, know where it's flowing, know how to clean it up so it's safer to drink, or whatever the method is, depending on what's going on, right? And able to store it, well, then you have some experience, some skill, and some knowledge because you know where it is. Some skill because you can, let's say it's a little bit whatever, right? You kind of make it more of a pre-filter and kind of add to it, kind of, right? For example, and do all this other stuff, right? Oh, there's so much, all right? Chemical treatment, filters, boiling, distillation, reverse osmosis, and all this other stuff. Nope. Maybe just bring that up right here. No. Well, it depends. Remember, they usually have anything can be worn down in time, but it just depends how much time. So, is it possible? I think honestly, but it's probably gonna be a long time, right? Something like flint and steel is probably gonna be a much longer time than that because how much material you're removing off your ferrocerium rod. I can use this pencil as an example. Obviously, this is not as hard as ferrocerium rod material, but you are removing material and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm actually trying to do a little bit more actively in terms of using one that's a rod. I mean, there's other ones that are square, but I'm always remembering when I do use them, especially if I'm practicing or whatever, is trying to wear down the ferrocerium rod evenly. I'm trying to make sure I don't have that dip in the center, because ideally trying to wear it down evenly. Because the thinner something gets that material, it might be like, you might be able to snap it in time if it's thin enough. Honestly, the wider the diameter, yes, I'm gonna use that instead of something else. The ferrocerium rod, generally, it'll hold together a little bit longer until where you can't apply enough. Well, because sometimes you actually have to apply pressure with your ferrocerium rod to get it in there, and it's when you're trying to shower it or pull back on it and stuff like that. So I haven't broken one, but I've worn down some of these smaller ones a little bit. So I'm just thinking, so a better ferrocerium rod would probably last longer. But I'll say it's a trade-off. It's going to be bigger and stuff like that. But let's just say it's something at home, maybe in a bag. You might be able to manage with that for a long period of time. Because I think it would not be as long as solar, but then again, solar can be done through other means too, right? Like a piece of ice or a water lens, for example. Hmm. Oh, oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with. Now, this is not a working one, but just to let's see if I can actually do this. Real quick, spark your interest in this topic a little bit more. Personally, I've been actually trying to not only get, I guess I can mention this because technically it's part of the skill, right, of fire making. But I'm also realizing diversifying what I use to start it and being like, and trying to understand the slight differences between the methods. I think, like this kind of 2 is 1, 1 is none, or 2, 3 is 2, or 4 is more, whatever. Right? The 2 is 1, 1 is none kind of deal. I'm always been thinking of myself, I'm like, yes, backups are important, but I'm trying to remember to diversify the backups so I have options, for example. So I'm going to use the quote unquote fire kit that you might see in the general preparedness. Also, you don't see that in the bushcrafting community and stuff like that. But I'm always thinking to myself, depending on the situation, I would like something that generally I can use in the winter, in the summer, when it's raining and stuff like that. So I'm always pairing these things together because like a flame source and a spark source, like a ferrocerium rod, because generally those are going to cover a lot of scenarios and situations where I may need that flame source or sparks, right? Generally, I should be able to do it in most situations, unless it's, flooded and everything's wet and there's no sun outside and it's really, really cold. Right, and yes, and there's no tinder whatsoever, and I can't find anything at all. Then that may be a little bit hard. Not impossible, but really, really difficult. Yeah, yeah. I'll show you something. Okay? I'm pretty sure I've shown this before. Sorry, I'm using a headset, so hopefully my volume's not cutting out as I try to go get this here. Yeah. That reminds me. Let me just pump that on the screen here. Huh? Little CB saying, unless you're fair run in the woods how it's taught and has an orange strip, a tape, not losing another one. That reminds me. Yes. Honestly, I'm not that straight this. I don't think it's necessary. One of the things I've been actually doing is to kind of, because what I'm familiar with is the Ferrocene rod is pressure, friction, air, the oxygen, and the fuel, which is the mixed metals in here, right? So one of the things I've been doing now, and I do this really lately, is actually if I reduce one of the parts of the triangle, I'd say pressure. Well, let's just say, yeah, see, look at that. I'm just using my pinky and my thumb. So just imagine if I actually try. So that's one of the things. See, I've been learning about trying to wear down the ferrocene rod more evenly. At least for ones that are like D's, for example, right? That are kind of about well, even some of those other ones too, right? So, because I know, they say, oh, 3,000 strips or whatever. It probably means evenly as much as possible, right? Because if I fit on one side of the ferrocene rod, if I'm applying pressure, I might snap just because I can't hold that anymore. So. Well, this is, I didn't even need to actually put that on this one, technically, but I just did just because I wanted to. And yes, I've actually started this with actual shavings or feather sticks, not something a little bit more, a little bit easier to work with at times, like the petroleum jelly cotton balls, or something like that would. I remember that video, and I was just like, oh, okay. Because sometimes the best way is just to try, right? You start to understand technique, hold things, and kind of aiming too, right? Because using something like this would generally take two hands, and you probably have to aim. Now there is some out there kind of reduce that or eliminate that, but that actual learning the technique is still important. Just in case you have to use a different ferrocene rod, or something along the lines of that. It's just like later. See, this one actually doesn't work, by the way. There's no flip in there, by the way. And learning that wait, I can still get a spark off of this, right? And I've shown this before, and I guess I'll kind of talk about it more. But I actually there was this challenge that went around about lighting a candle with a ferrocene rod, and I'm like, I don't get me wrong, I did try it, right? I'm like, that doesn't seem that difficult, so I decided to up the ante on it and try with an empty later instead, because I've kind of figured, let's see if I can apply some of that knowledge or skill or things that I've learned in terms of doing it with the ferrocene rod to this. Because the only difference between that and this is the size of the sparks, but always remembering technique, right? Some information like centralizing it or concentrating it into the center, for example, and kind of finding that spot to aim, for example, right? And there's one thing, obviously charcoal point it's going to be relatively easy. I say relatively, but with Preparedness, a tinder bundle, right? But if I just had this versus a ferrocene rod, I'll be like, oh, wait a second, I gotta be like aim it a lot better, for example, or something like that. Because obviously the sparks are smaller, and that's compared to ferrocene rod. Because obviously ferrocene rod, you're not going to get longer sparks coming out. Oh, there probably too. Let's see. Okay. I see where you guys are going there. I see where you guys are going there. He doesn't go in there. Okay, cool. Just let me change this out here. Okay. So, anyways, coming back to the fire thing here. So, yes, I like to have both options available. Because generally, looking for the first team run and let's even stormproof pouches. I mean, I don't use them that often. Actually, I've tried out the water thing and stuff like that, but I think I actually have tried this one of them out when it was more windy out. Because I'm actually trying to see, I actually seen through actually trying stuff out. It's just like, well, let's try this out, right? What can I learn from it? It's just like, for example, like stormproof matches, you know, everyone's always like, oh yeah, it burns underwater or whatever. But I think it goes without saying, preparedness in this case, right, is being proactive, and so trying to set up as much as possible, right? Because I can see sometimes it could be very useful, but I also realize it's not foolproof here. I think I'm still gonna have pretty more difficult, more pressing issues than just trying to, you know, start that campfire or whatever when it's like much windier out. Because the tinder will be blowing away, so stuff like that. But I mean, if you had a nice windbreak and stuff like that, but that's why I have multiple options, not just one. So, okay, hopefully one of them will work in this case. Yeah. So if you do use like stormproof matches or matches in there, I always always be prepared to tinder as best as you can. Right. It does actually make a difference, especially if you're down to that last match, right? Sometimes that preparation is even more important. So you can actually get it the first time as much as possible versus using up another stormproof match, for example. I'll say flare is a flare, but I have those stormproof matches. I mean, actually, I think I'll bring one out here. Why not? Why not? I think I'll bring one out here. Out here. All right. Right here. For the tip to burn no longer. So give it a little bit more staying power, let's just say. Not in terms of the waterproofness, but just an actual working flame. Excuse me. Okay. I see you in there, CB. Or something. Yeah. I've shown this multiple matches before, so something I can do. But this takes a little bit of preparedness in terms of setting it up in advance. But it could buy me that extra time later that I might need. And yes, I'm trying to still organize this one. I mean, like I got one of those Ferrocene rods. Standard size Ferrocene rod. These are, I guess these are kind of the standard size, right? Kind of, the regular size, right? There's smaller ones, and there's obviously bigger ones, right? Jumbo ones. But this is something I added in here because I figure. See, another thing I kind of figure is if I'm using this, I'm generating sparks anyway, for the most part. So people don't notice that anyways, right? But I need to see if I drop this, to make sure that I don't leave it and do something that you might have seen on some some of those shows out there, right? Misplacing your Ferrocene rod. Yeah. Not just because I don't want to lose it. It's just like because that might be really important, and I don't want to leave that just lingering or littering in the place, right? So a little bit of more preventative measure right there. Something right there. Let me just quickly put this away real quick here. See you guys in the back. Well, yeah, there's nothing. I think, yeah. I mean, everyone wants color coding or whatever, but sometimes this is like it's gonna work for you, right? I mean, like if you're using it when it's snowing or something like that, or rain or whatever, right? It would be nice to know that. Oh, hey, I just slipped out of my pocket a little quicker. I can pick it up because I can see it versus because you actually can see it, for example, right? So I think there's a time and place to be seen, and then there's always a time and a place to not be seen, and you know, and maybe it reflects in what you make as a kid for the reason, right? Something like a car kit, you may want that safety vest versus, I'm kind of hunting in the woods or whatever, right? Just trying to stay kind of a little bit more low key, but being able to be more noticeable if you need to, but be less noticeable if you need to. So realizing, a little later may not give you away per se, but a really, you know, big orange space blanket might really give you away. So then, you know, and stuff like that. Because you can always put something around the lighter and kind of hide it, but or maybe it's just like a little tag on it that you can actually kind of see if you want to use like cargo tape or something like that. Real simple. And besides, it goes back to the resources. If you're actually buying resources like a lighter, it would be nice to know that it's in that kit, ready to go, ready to deploy, and ready to use, versus it dropped out and no one noticed it because it's the same color as the floor or the carpet or whatever in your place. And you're like, oh, right. Let's put this away here. And this is just yes, this I'm pointing away a fire pit. It's actually very similar to some of the ones I've shown in the past. Nothing too complicated. Well, I wouldn't say complicated, but nothing too. It's budget friendly. Yes, I think that's what I'll say. It's budget friendly because the way I just put it together, things I had, and also it's reallocating some things I couldn't buy. I had to buy per se for it if I can't recreate it by myself yet, for example. I'm not making a very same run yet, so yeah, right. But something like a later, oh, maybe I can find one, which may or may not happen. I think the one I have with that kerosene rod is actually, yeah, I think I bought that one. Yeah, so that for right now. You made a mistake of taking home items for camping gear, and yeah, I mean it depends what you're doing, all right. But sometimes it's nice to know, like, you know, you know, oh, that cast iron or something like that. Did I miss something in there? I should have labeled that under funny. Yeah. Well, organization is important too because it's nice to always know that the resources are in the ready to go kind of deal as much as possible and kind of to the point as much as possible. Let's see. All right. Anyways, coming back to the earlier. Actually, I gotta put these away. Actually, maybe I'll just use this as. I'll just use that as lighting temporarily. So I put this battery bank away. I mean, and this is stuff, I think it goes without saying, this is stuff acquired over time. It wasn't like, you know, if you get the funds, I guess it goes without saying, if you get the funds, you can almost get anything per se, right? It's true, right? To a certain degree, right? But things like money, financial stuff, there's certain things that it may be, convenient to, get something, let's say, not necessarily pre-made bag or whatever, but like easy. But sometimes it also doesn't show you this. You don't go through the experience of doing it, so you don't gain the skill from it, right? Only relying or knowing about, let's say, a lighter. Let's just say a lighter, for example, right? I'll use this as an example. Knowing you might not realize that you can do a little bit more with it, even without fuel, without butane in the lighter, for example, because you didn't go through the process of, oh, I'm always gonna have a lighter that's always gonna be working, and it's not always strike a flame. I got these air flame sources, and sometimes you might miss out, be like, oh, wait a second, I just learned that I can even use the spark for something else, and I've shown this before. I've shown this before where, you know, and this is why I've started to see. It's like things that everyone's always saying, a ferrocene rod. Oh yeah, it'll work for this. I'm like, I always see, can I do this with an actual lighter first? One that doesn't have fuel in it, because I realize if I could do that with this, the ferrocene rod is gonna be much more simplistic, easier, because it's bigger, the sparks and all that stuff. But I might be, and I've been learning, aiming with this and remembering. Oh yeah, where's the hot spark? Hotspot that I'm trying to light up in, for example. Because yes, I've shown these with some other things too. So I think it was, what was it? Yellow birch, I think. Yeah, I think it was yellow, or was it white birch? I showed a video on it. So because in the one that video, I actually learned a different way to kind of do it versus what everyone else shows typically. It's kind of scraping. I did it the other way. I actually feathered it. I feathered it with a knife and just like, oh, look at that. I guess it works. It works too. So sometimes it's not always the gear that's not always the gear that is important, but what you learn from the gear too, right? Or that experience of like, oh, maybe it's like almost like an epiphany at times where it's just like, wow, that's so cool. It could be useful or whatever, right? Maybe in general preparedness or survivalism as a whole, but you realize, oh wow, I can add that into the knowledge bank, and it's kind of found that out. It's like, oh, if I didn't go through this effort of trying to gain the experience, I might have not have found out about it or known about it. I hope that makes sense, by the way. Well, there's a time and a place for that. Right? Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like it too, but I also realize, you know, can I do with less, or can I? How can I use the resources even better than what I'm doing right now, whatever it is? And like I said, I without showing too much here, it's like a resource like this. This is a Tetra box, Tetra pack type of container. So many of you have seen these. I'm pretty sure most people know these Tetra pack type of containers, right? Depending where you are, and you might be able to get deposit at. I know I can get it here in the province, but I've actually without showing so much here, I've actually reused one of these before. So it's actually not too bad, actually. And yes, by the way, there's cardboard in that stuff. I'm just saying. If you didn't know about that, well, yeah, there is. Because another thing I've been trying to understand a little bit more is the resources that go into these items a little bit better, and understanding like, oh, there's an anode and a cathode, and the battery and all this stuff versus like you know fuel comes out of this and it's related for this, and then something like that, or there's a fair seam rod and understanding how all that works. Because it's nice to because once you add more into that, it gives you more to work with because it's just like, oh, we have this kind of resource to work with in this scenario or situation or problem solving where it's just like, oh, how can I use this better? And it's just like, I got more of this. Yeah, maybe I can't spare one right now because I don't have one, but oh, maybe I can use something else in the meantime. Then obviously trying to change it out later, depending on what it is. So, because I kind of been noticing, and just like as I've gone through this kind of preparedness journey, uh, I've learned so much, and I've also made some of the same mistakes, unfortunately, right? But realizing, you know, sometimes you gotta go through something to understand it. It gives you a deeper meaning of understanding it because it's just like, oh, maybe you've actually gone through a situation that kind of reinforced that idea a little bit more of maybe I need to refine this kind of planning, my thinking behind it a little bit more. Just like math, right? Just like math. I mean, the human multi-tool. Yeah. I mean, I got a multi-tools. I kind of followed this kind of same Marshall, by the way. Anyways, before he passed away, anyways, that guy was awesome. I don't know if anyone knows, but anyways, you might have seen him on with Such and stuff like that. But yeah, he used to always say early on from some of the videos I've seen, multi tools are. I'm trying to remember it now. I'm paraphrasing it. Multi tools are good, can do a lot of things, but may not do something specific great. For example, like precision tools. You might still need precision tools because you can't get down all the way into the compartment. And I don't seem to have a screwdriver, but you get the idea, right? Or you might need something more precise than a multi-tool. But then again, multi-tools allow you to do a lot of things. I mean, like, I got one nearby. I've shown this on the channel too. Yeah. I kind of like this. You saw, yeah, right here. So, there's lots out there. Tried to get something good. I enjoyed this one that I have here. I haven't used it as much as I wanted to. Let's just say, when I told someone, "Hey, by the way, it's sharp," and they come back with like, "What happened to you?" I forgot it was sharp, CR. I'm like, "Oh, it's so," because I tried the paper cutting thing and just like, "Oh, yeah," before I pass. So sometimes realizing just like, oh, actually trying to handle your cutting tools with care too, right? Like remembering that, yeah, some people maintain their stuff, so sometimes you got to be very careful about that, right? And sometimes first aid stuff is useful. Yeah, so it makes it happen. Things have happened to me. I mean, that's for sure. Yeah, I remember something happened to the back of this index finger right here. It's the same. I had to hold my finger straight for 3 days straight. It was the only way. It was, yeah, it was an accident, but yeah, I'm also trying to remember like point away, keeping the tools sharp and stuff like that. not because it reduces the amount of effort I need to make a slice or push. So you have the tendency to have more control. Because usually what happens when you get hit, nick, or something like that, you lose control and it just goes somewhere where you're not planning to. Because I think people aren't trying to like nick themselves or cut themselves. It's usually because you slip, right? And that's knowing. Maybe this is more precarious, right? Maybe I should have more control of the tool, right? And sometimes injuries with power tools happen like that. Let's put this away here real quick. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm trying to work into it too, right? I'm understanding now that having both is probably having convenience and having reliability, right? So, and options. So, I would hope it would be able to keep going like that, but I don't know. Yeah, okay, GP. Hey there, GP. Oops, I meant to highlight that. Let's go, yes, let's go. Wait, uh, well, actually, my surface is red, so I guess that counts. Let me see here. All right, I gotta make sure I don't remember what time it is. Yes. Because usually I've only done this P.R.E.P stream during prime time, but I think to give some people some time to drop in and see this and kind of see some other things in there and stuff, and of course, hear me out, right? It gives more people an opportunity. So, because I know, sometimes I can't see some like moderators and stuff like that. So it's nice to actually see some different people, right? And giving some other points of views, right? Like where it's like, oh, so that's because it's just like in preparedness in general anyways, it's just like it's fine tuned for your area, generally speaking. If you live in a hotter area, well, stuff like that. A hotter, humid area versus me here, I have winter. Enough said. Yes, I just said that. But I'm always remembering, I gotta fine tune it for this area though. Or for where I am. I mean, if I go somewhere else, then I'll change it out. Hold on. Speaking of don't rely on technology, I didn't realize my headset. Should be able to hear me. Yeah, I still see the change this quick setting here. No, it should be good. Should still be good. Also, it'll probably sound different because I'm not using a headset right now. But yes, I'll probably go until the bottom of the hour here for everyone. So I don't know, the 2.5 hour mark, give or take. Appreciate everyone dropping in, saying a few words, saying stuff like that. Your point of views on some of the things I'm saying. And like I said, I hope this makes sense because I think I brought in a couple of things that might sound like more abstract. I mean, I wouldn't say abstract, but kind of was easier with an example or metaphor to pack it up. Because as I take a seat, I get to take a seat here. Hold on. People, yeah. I mean, this person's starting to get old here. No, just kidding. I'm just going to take a short break here. Oh. You grab a drink here. Hydrate up. Water is important, everyone. So, alright. And what I say about water is like, if you like coffee, well, you don't need that water for it. So,
Wow. This was, I really enjoyed talking to you guys in the side chat. Wow, just seeing what you guys, some of that encouragement, right? I see some of you hear me out. Yeah. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you, CB. I see you. Yes. I'm trying to work on things too. Yes, there's things behind the scenes you're not seeing right now, such as some other things. I'm just trying to kind of bring it together here and realizing personally, as a personal level, that I can't reuse everything, but I'm gonna sure try and kind of put them to use, especially if I can. Especially if I can. Because that's kind of, you know, that whole, you know, the whole, if you look at like some videos out there or whatever, it's like lessons from the Great Depression or whatever, right? And it's like they used everything, wasted nothing or whatever, or kind of how I say they probably reused a lot of things, a lot more, and kind of stretched the resources a lot more. Because at that time, scarcity or whatever, right? So I'm kind of thinking, maybe it's gonna come back to that. Maybe not quite like that, but kind of like, people reused a lot more things in certain ways and kind of reallocating the items instead of buying it per se new. Maybe it can be built or gone with similar or just slightly below quality of something new, for example, but at, let's say, a tenth of the price. Well, you might actually consider that. And then reallocate the funds towards something that you can't per se do or get or whatever. Like the beans, for example. I mean, I've said this in other live streams and other panels before. I'm just like thinking to myself, I might actually just come down to that too. Now that I think about with that kind of inflation of stuff, right? Versus smaller or whatever, right? In it and whatever, right? And it's just like thinking to myself, I might actually have to start reallocating the funds to a certain degree and kind of saving here to allocate more towards this. So let's say, saving money here so I can buy a water container here or something along the lines of that. Yeah, resourcefulness is a good mindset, yes, because you're always looking ahead. You're seeing the short term, like, don't get me wrong, it's but you're also looking at the long term of it. It's just like the resources and thinking, how long can this buy in terms of time, for example, right? Because right now I've been thinking more and more, and just kind of like this whole 1 year as like the golden, the the big 1 year of stuff like blah blah blah, right? I think that includes probably everything too, right? It's not just food and water, probably some other things too. Just, but am I there? No, I'm working on like something like 6 months, because to me it's more attainable, and it kind of comes back to this kind of, for me here in this area, this where I live, right, where I see winter, spring, summer, and fall. So for me, it makes sense to be more of a kind of 6 months, then progressing to that, because I need at least that much time, at least that much time, and hopefully I would in time stretch to that 1 year mark. But I'm thinking, let's just say, so that's what I'm trying to stretch for a little bit more. I mean, and obviously it's in the works and stuff like that, because obviously the rotation and stuff like that, and other things that may be consumables, right? And once you consume them, you have to repurchase or reacquire again. Something like calories, food, and all that stuff. Obviously, that has to be reacquired once it's consumed. I mean, obviously, you store some away, so you have maximize those times that you do have it from for those times that you don't have it, from conserving some for those famine days or whatever, right? When you have less. Because that's actually what I did with the sunflower seeds. I was like, I'm kind of glad I did that now. I want to do more of that now because I'm just like, yeah, I kind of like that. And that wasn't even that bad. I'm crossing my fingers it'll be just as easy. I'm crossing my fingers that I'll see some nice fall time later for this 2023 season. So, because I kind of want to see more of it. Because it was just one of those things. It's just like, well, let's just see, right? Let's just see how it's turned out by if you're doing it, and then not just say, oh, in theory it should work, and then no, just try it out, all right? Get some more real world data where it's just like, where you kind of see observations, right? Because sometimes it's nice to actually have something to base something on, and not just wildly assuming, right? The best that you can, right? I mean, assuming, oh, it's only 10, it's only 5 miles away. I should be able to do it. That's based on what? I mean, ideal conditions? Well, it may not be ideal conditions, right? There's a little bit more wind, water, snow, whatever, right? Wait, oh, well, it could be just wind, right? And you're just walking somewhere. And, oh, there's a headwind, right? That's not slowing you down if you're walking in that. So instead of making that, whatever, 5 miles in a few hours, it's taking you almost twice as long. So that's something to factor in. You're thinking, when you're doing stuff, right? And kind of, things that'll slow you down. Because it reduces your efficiency of, like, going forward in this case, right? Bring my device back up. So let's see. Just checking on my time here. So, yeah, I mean, there's our researches where I'm just like thinking, I'm like, there's potential in it, and I'm like, and there might be even some potential in terms of preparedness part to it to a certain degree, but I'm just trying to work it together where it's just like, oh, it just kind of works together, right? It's just like, or you can use it like an option, right? I mean, I know I'm trying not to get so techie into this, but sometimes the gear is useful, right? I mean, so the gadgets are useful to a certain degree, right? They're nice, right? Hopefully, you might have a backup option if that doesn't work, or at least to get you by for a little bit until you can, whatever, right? I mean, whatever it is. I mean, a washing machine, whatever, right? Right? Versus like, let me get my washboard apps here, because you're actually trying to like. I think I remember playing around with one of those long time ago. Wow, it's been so long. I'm trying to. What is it? It was metal. I remember that. I kind of wish I had that. No. But. Oh, okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see you there. Hugo. Yeah, something like that. And that reminds me of this other story where I'm just like, I actually I had that, and I'm just like, yep. And I actually had to do something similar to that, right? So, because I decided to do this walk when it was much warmer out, right? Like I'm showing here in the winter time, but I also realized it gets warm here too, right? In the summertime, it's just, I mean, and then and I've noticed, right? Because I'm just like, well, you know what? We already got this heat dome out back in 2021. Now I'm like, I know that has happened. And, and stuff like that, how severe or the magnitude or how often that might happen. Well, that I guess time will tell. But I do realize that it can happen. It would be nice to know, maybe in that those extremely high temperatures, but just a little bit lower than that is just like an understanding. What happens if that kind of when something goes wrong and everything else goes wrong kind of deal, right? Where it's just like, yeah, of course, the vehicle's gonna break down on the hottest day of the year, or something like that, or of course I'm gonna have a flat tire when on the hottest day of the year, or something like that, right? And making sure it's just like not only having the gear like the water available, but kind of well, I kind of went through an experience similar to this, right? Kind of to base it on, because especially if you've never experienced certain things, right? Cold or being more dehydrated, heat exhaustion, right? And sometimes I'm like, this was a great experience because it allowed me to experience that, to see the sensation, like how does that feel? All that kind of headache type thing that they talk about is like, oh yeah, now I remember. Now I know how that kind of, just a taste of it. I just like, because I remember I'm like, oh yeah, the headache, the probably headache. Oh yeah, I think I had a taste of that, right? I just had a taste of it because I actually went out for this walk and just like midday too. So clear out too. So I mean, I could have probably did that better, but it was definitely a good learning experience. And the thing is, when I actually did this, I actually did tell someone where I was going, so they actually kind of came by after. But I started to experience just the kind of, the not necessarily shortness of breath, but kind of like the headache, that headache thing. I was just like, oh, this is that kind of pounding headache they talk about with heat exhaustion and so forth. I'm like, oh, and obviously in the winter I've experienced mild frostbite, so I'm like, yeah, frostbite burns. That's why they call it frostbite, because it burns and it hurts. Yeah, but I also realized, oh, your head can hurt when you don't have much water and you're in the heat for a long period of time. So knowing, oh, maybe I'm coming back to that state again, and maybe knowing when to take a break, because experience has showed me if I push too hard, I might start getting lightheaded, for example. Right. Hi, Oakley. Yes, take care, Hugo. Hi, Eric. How are you doing? How are you guys all doing? So, yeah. So, I know I'm jumping around, but I'm also trying to engage with you guys a little bit more and kind of share a few things too. That kind of, I don't know where to put it as a video. Then I'm like, and it does, and I'm more specific in this kind of stream compared to my live with CR streams or some other topics, right? So I'm like, oh, I'll just throw it into here. Throw it in here. It kind of relates into preparedness to a certain degree, or the resources, the environment around us. And of course, I get to reconnect with some of you out there. Oh yeah, yes, I see you all. All right, all right. Yeah, I see you all. I see you all. I see you all. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I realize when I see some of what you guys do, I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. Maybe for some reason I find it interesting, and I don't know why, but I want. So I figure, maybe keep up with the interest, especially if you enjoy something you do, right? So let me know in the side chat right here if you're getting ready for spring. You guys getting ready for spring? I might as well just put up a thing that says installing spring in Canada. 404 error. Cannot find spring. I remember posting that this one time. I just posted that, but it was so funny because it was still like there's still snow on the ground in April. But cross my fingers that it'll be a decent year. Hopefully, doesn't need to be perfect, but hopefully a decent one. Because last year was pretty good, actually. I'm actually the 2022 season. We're growing stuff up for me was kind of good. There was a nice mix of sun, cloud, showers, rain, and stuff like that. A nice balance. You know, where the kind of resources going in are kind of balancing out with the environment that's in, right? You know, the environment's providing some rain, some sun, right? And then the resources are just kind of being pulled out of the ground, like the sunflowers, right? It's just growing. It's like, yes. I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, so it kind of be similar. But I also realize, you know, things happen, right? So, hence a buffer zone of stuff like rain catchment and stuff like that, and kind of hopefully buy me enough time to that kind of, you know, rain catchment, so it buys me enough time till the next rain season, the rainstorm or whatever, and hopefully be able to sustain that for the whole time. Because it would be nice, right? Because then I know I'm using the resources that this land provides much better because it's falling from the sky as water, right? A little bit better. And, you know, in terms of preparedness, I'm actually learning by actually doing that kind of gardening stuff, not just, oh, hey, I got these seeds, everyone. I didn't try them yet. What? Because I'm actually trying to make sure not only do I know what the seeds are, but I kind of see the stages of development, right? And not just see it in a picture, like on like whatever on or on video, but with my own eyes and just like and seeing what people else say about identifying it, but kind of like shapes, sizes, smell, and all that stuff, right? I'm getting a little bit jealous there. Not just kidding. Just kidding. I know it's always gonna be behind here. It's just because I live on a higher latitude than most people in terms of growing zone and stuff like that too. So, but I also realize I can grow stuff here too. So, and because I've also seen it with my own eyes, right? I'd be like, you know, kind of like this is probably the best time to put it in. All right. I'll say after the last frost date and all that stuff. You know, I also got to remember it's still going to be unpredictable to a certain degree. Technology allows us to kind of see it in advance, right? A weather radar and all that stuff, right? But I'm imagining how would you do this without it, right? A predictional level, right? Would you wait until this one day, but you know, a little bit of weather unpredictability, right? So I'm thinking, oh, well, how can I help them along or give them a little bit more of the time until it's ready to harvest or whatever, right? And let's just say it's not a container, so you can't just simply move the container, but it is in the ground. Excuse me. So, let's see, where's my tie here? Okay. So yeah, I'll probably go into more or less the bottom of the hour here. So I do appreciate everyone to drop by and kind of hearing me out and seeing these things that I want to talk about. And like I said, just hear me out on some of this stuff, right? Because I can use all these catchy words. I can say a lot of things in here, right? But I'm just trying to kind of show you all my point of view on this, right? Because I know sometimes it stands out at certain times my point of view on it, but other times it's like, oh, okay. Because I'm trying to look at everything as a whole a little bit more, right? So, you know, as a metaphor, not just how the resources that are involved, but the production side during the lifespan of it, whatever it is, while it's in use, and then afterwards, once it's no longer functional, fixable, and all that stuff, you know, kind of thinking about it as a whole. So sometimes I'm like I said, I've actually reused stuff. I'm just like, I don't even know how I put it together. It's not always like, see, it's probably just a bunch of electronics. No, it's not always electronics. Sometimes it's actually stuff that has no electronics. It's just the way I put it together. It's just like, oh, It's just like the Sony stuff. Like I can put stuff together, right? And then next thing I know, with a little skill, some gear, some resources like material, and some of that time, I can gain experience because now I'm actually doing it. And the next thing you know, I got this pouch that's pretty good for what it is, And just imagine if I actually used really high premium quality resources for it. But I do realize I learned something from it because I acquired the experience of doing this pouch now. So lessons learned, like, oh, I gotta reinforce the stitching here. I'm going through 2, 3, 4, 5 layers, whatever, right? And it's like realizing how I can make it more efficient in terms of like being able to do it, and so I can repeat it. It's repeatable, right? That's, you learn skills so you can repeat them again when you either require them or when you need them again, for example, right? So that skill of like using a Ferris team rod, now I can be like, oh, okay, I'm always remembering stuff like, surface area, aiming, and stuff like that. I've I've actually tried them cold. It's a little bit more tricky. I'm not saying I could do it most of the time, but it really does depend. I mean, nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong with using like cotton balls if you have to, right? If you're gonna. What's my time at? Let's see. Okay. So another 5 minutes here. Let me just make sure I don't think I missed anything on my slide chat here. I do appreciate everyone that dropped in. So some of my channel moderators, some people give me some encouragement and notice my failures on there, and that's another thing, right? I mean, make progress in preparedness. I mean, just like that movie, make progress, not make progress, not perfection. I wonder what that's from, right? So, because I know I'm trying to like do more, right, with what I have and the resources I can acquire and tap or dip into. Some people have more resources available. More resources, right? You might hear that in like movies or books or whatever, right? I have more resources to use. That actually kind of reminds me of one movie. I kind of always refer to that movie, but it always has these nice metaphors that kind of work with preparedness and some of these other things I talk about. Just like, so, just like, one person can help someone after all. Enough said. Oh, I'm quoting now, right? And sometimes it's people that, kind of motivate you. It's like, if Sarah can do this, I can do this too, right? Kind of, and just challenging yourself to become better, to become more, right? Look, my description even says more, right? And kind of making your own reality effective. It's just like, and using those resources and realizing it's just like, wow, doing more with less or discovering more and just where I don't know. I'm trying to sum this up, but I think you guys all understand what I'm talking about. So, all right, with that here. I appreciate everyone dropping by here. And let's see here. Let me just put in here. Because, I do like to DIY and create. I use what I do have, right? And sometimes I'm messing around with a backpack, for example. Just learning by actually wearing it, understanding it, by actually seeing it with my own eyes and stuff like that. Over time and stuff like that. One of the things I did earlier in the month, right, when I went out for a walk. That's exciting. That was exciting. That was definitely something that I definitely learned from, like I said in that video, is just so much that I just like understood a little bit better. I was kind of connecting a little bit more. Well, I was definitely connecting to the code on that one, on that day. But understanding that kind of relationship between the heat and the cold, and we all have our tolerances, but it's nice to know, oh, this is my kind of upper limit on it, or down lower limit on it. And then if I'm coming closer to it, experience would tell me I should take it more serious or do something about it because I've experienced it before. Even it was just a taste of it, more that kind of headache or whatever from the heat versus frostbite. I know what to do, and hopefully preventing that and being proactive about that and stuff like that. Because I've started to understand it. So when I hear these kind of stories out there, about the cold or the heat, and I'm like, oh, they must have experienced the headaches, the frostbite, and all that stuff. And and I know how painful or how much it hurt. Just experience, just a taste of it, and I'm just like, yeah. It's not that I don't want to go for it, but I realize, oh, it's not glamorous, right? Sometimes survivalism is not be glamorous, right? There's really cool things you can do in prepping, right? Learn things and stuff like that, but the survivalism part is gonna be not the easiest thing, not as simple or as intuitive as it may seem, or as simple as many people show it, right? Sometimes you actually have to put effort into it, a little bit more effort into it, but realize you're getting a lot more out of it at the end because you just overcame something. You learn a new skill or a piece of knowledge or gain more experience. For example, for example, I can say, well, at least I did do a 10K walk now, 6 miles at least once, right? At least once, and it was in more lower temperatures in this case, right? I might actually try that again when it's a little bit warmer out, and just kind of understand the differences and realize my priorities, what I needed at that time. Where, like, for example, obviously, if I did this during the summer, it'd be water, for example, right? But during the winter time, when I tried that, I was like, the most important thing wasn't water or food, it was shelter in this case, right? Exposure in this case, because, yeah. I'm not saying water and food wouldn't help, but, I think I had a piece of candy and kind of went from there. Just something to wet my whistle with, and just kind of kept going with that, and on, just kept going. So, anyways, it's coming up to that. Yeah, 2-minute warning here on my stream. Appreciate everyone dropping in. Hopefully, I'll see you guys all around. Like, I know I see you guys around. Right? I hear you guys and gals out there, right? When I see you guys, I'm like, oh, hey! It's XYZ channel, whatever, right? Like, sometimes I've had a chance to talk to you guys or whatever, either on your own streams, offline, personal PM chats, and all that stuff, and got to know you people better. So I'm trying to, stay in touch, right? Stay in touch, and because seeing you guys do certain little things that just persuades me. I can do this, right? I can do this. This is obtainable. This is going to change skill or knowledge or experience of it. I can do this, and I can do this here where I am, right? It doesn't need special gear or anything like that. It's maybe some time and some little bit of effort or elbow grease, and the next thing you know, it's just like, oh well, I actually grew this, for example, whatever it is, right? And realizing, oh, and as I do it, when I hear about stuff, I'm like, I can relate things in, and maybe after the conversation and start to learn about it, and it's like not only absorb knowledge, but gain the experience and release experience by doing it. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, and trying to kind of make it sense in my own head too, where it makes sense. All right, everyone. I think that's about time here. So unless anyone wants to say anything here, I will be slipping out of here because it is that time here, 2.5 hours in. So thank you all my channel moderators, thank people that helped me out on this one, and keep prepping out there, right? Realize the resources aren't always gonna be there forever or all the time or plentiful or maybe limited. So use what you do have too, right? The best that you can and stuff like that. Use those resources are a little bit better, right? Because water is important to us. I'm just saying. I mean, no ships with water and all this other stuff. So, and we need it for drinking and for the coffee out there. So be proactive. You all can create it. Roaming. See, I see you in there, man. Don't think I didn't see you in there, man. Yeah, I'm about to slip out here, roaming. Everyone always shows up late. There's always a person that shows up late. That's all good. It's all good, right? Even the late person that shows up late is important too, especially in this case. So yes, go create something better out there, everyone. And like always, it may be changing out there, but we can adapt too. And skill and knowledge can get better with practice. You can't help everyone out there, but one can help someone. Oops, I'm trying to not re-show that. Anyways, take care, everyone. Thanks everyone for dropping by. I'll catch you around on the tube, and you guys and gals are something more. Woohoo! All right, see you, everyone.